whatever calendar system you're using, attached to it should have some sort of calendar. And a calendar is something that you need to follow, you need to use, you need to track. And even if it's foreign to you, you need to learn how to do it. Otherwise, your potential will never ultimately be reached, and you will constantly be shackled and chained to your desk. This is one of the primary reasons why agents have to work 16 hours per day to produce as much as some agents who only work 8 to 10 hours per day. It's because it's just chaotic, right? And so there's no organized time, and because they have strong work ethics, they're going to go and stick to it until everything is done. But nonetheless, hours upon hours is wasted each and every day because there's no organized structure. What's up, everybody? In this video, we're going to talk about time management. Why time management is important is because if you currently don't have strong time management skills, a few of the things that you're probably experiencing right now is, one, you never have time. Right? You ever say that? Like, man, I just feel like I never have enough time. Number two is you're leaving money on the table, whether it's because missed messages, missed emails, missed voice messages, missed calls, some sort of missed engagement resulting in a complaint either to your manager or your customer service department, or even you stating that like, I just could never get a hold of you, I haven't heard anything from you, what's going on, like I just left, let's go and stop the process because the communication just isn't there. Also, you'll notice that you are always in a constant rush, like you're not necessarily completing any specific or given task to 100% of your capability. So oftentimes you're rushing it. In other words, you're half-assing the particular duty or task or objective at hand, and thus your results are not necessarily what you want them to be. And so in this video, I think it's important to talk about time management because I get asked oftentimes like, hey D, I know you must be very busy. I see you doing a lot. I know you manage a team. You not only manage your pipeline, but you're also producing and managing 10 plus other pipelines. You're going through customer service issues. You're putting up content on a daily basis. How do you do all this stuff, man? What does your schedule look like? And so in this video, I'm going to answer that. But before I do, let me remind you, my name is Daniel. I'm the host of this channel. It's called @Sales Remastered, and it's designed for sales enthusiasts. It's designed for people who want to create income by use of a high income skill called sales. Whether it's your primary job or it's a side hustle, my goal is to really help you understand sales is really communication. And I'm going to help you understand the way you look at sales is really, it's easier than you think. And if you can adopt some of the philosophies and some of the techniques and some of the lessons that I share here, not only on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Snapchat, everywhere that you are, chances are I'm there. So be sure you add me, and when you find me, hit the subscription button, hit that notification bell, hit that follow, hit that like, wherever it is, and be sure you add me on your feed because I'm dropping content, like I said, daily, and my goal is to help you increase your production, increase your income, and increase your morale. Got it? So back to the topic. Why time management is key is because, again, I think that if your goal is to become a top producer, if your goal is to increase your efficiency and increase your outcome, right? Your production, your income, you have to really adopt the principle of time management. And I want to ask you a question, and comment below. Make sure you comment and engage because it helps me in return. Have you ever met someone who you think should be busy, but it just seems like they're not? Like my CEO, the CEO of my company, multi-billion-dollar national size organization. He's the CEO and owner, right? I work for a privately owned direct lender here in California. And I mean, this guy, he just seems so calm, cool, and collect, real cool dude, humble dude. And I have a ton of respect for him. But one thing that always shocked me was just how calm and cool, collect he looked. Like nothing fazed him. Like he was never in a rush. He never looked burnt out. right? And I wanted to understand that, so I watched from afar and I tried to, you know, kind of study his movements, the way he makes moves, and get an idea of you know, how his day is laid out. Because again, I think that you should always study the top example within your environment, and he happens to be one of the top examples within my environment. And so when I was looking at him and his composure and his body language, and I was comparing it to others who didn't have a fraction of his daily tasks and daily rules and certain duties or calendars, let's say, they looked like they were stressed out, burnt out. They never had enough time, you know what I mean? Like they're always in a rush. And I wondered, you know, I used to blame it on delegation, because you might be like, well, D, the reason why is because he hires other people to do it. While that might be true, at the same time, he still has a lot of things to do, like review, approvals, meetings. There's still a lot of things that demand his attention. And so the question really is, well, how does he get so much done, right? And not look like he's even phased? And I think one of the key ingredients is simply time management. And so I'm going to share with you a couple of things that I do for time management. And I'm going to share with you some of the factors that I sprinkle within my schedule, the way that I manage my time. Because I think that if you understand why I do these particular actions, you'll realize that, oh, well, that's why I'm burning up my time. That's why I never feel like I have time. So rule number one is you have to use a system. Bottom line, there has to be some sort of system in play. And the system that I use is Outlook Calendar. The system I used to use back in the day when I started time management was a planner. Like you had to handwrite a planner. You know, I'm pretty old. So, you know, back in the day, like they didn't, you know, computer wasn't necessarily your primary function, your reminder. You couldn't necessarily say like, hey Siri, or hey, you know, Alexa, you know, remind me of this or remind me of that. It just wasn't an option. And so we used to have to write things out. Every single day we used to print from our calendar Outlook, like it, or a Franklin Covey planner, which was a planner that had one day and it had 30-minute slots, right? 7, 7:30, 8, 8:30, 8:30 a.m., 9, you know, a.m., and so on and so forth. And so you would have to handwrite whatever you had to do within that particular day. And as you went through, you know, you would cross them off. And then the rule was that your following day should be at least 40% planned the night before. You know, you want to leave space for any variables or any surprise appointments and things like that. And so I adopted those philosophies, but now it's kind of evolved. And so now I use everything from, you know, Siri reminders to, you know, Google Calendar to Outlook Calendar. But bottom line is you have to have some sort of system that works for you. And chances are you're using Microsoft Outlook. Whatever calendar system you're using, attached to it should have some sort of calendar. And a calendar is something that you need to follow, you need to use, you need to track. And even if it's foreign to you, you need to learn how to do it. Otherwise, your potential will never ultimately be reached, and you will constantly be shackled and chained to your desk. This is one of the primary reasons why, you know, agents have to work 16 hours per day to produce as much as some agents who only work 8 to 10 hours per day. It's because it's just chaotic, right? And so there's no organized time, and because they have strong work ethics, they're going to go and stick to it until everything is done. But nonetheless, hours upon hours is wasted each and every day because there's no organized structure. So that's rule number one, is you need to have a system in place, a time management system, or a resource, a tool like a calendar, right? That's rule number one. And every single day, in my opinion, I have the day of and also the day after. So I've always got a 48-hour window on my calendar. So in my view, if I was in Outlook and I looked at my calendar, I see today and tomorrow. And the reason for that is because I'm constantly, you know, shifting appointments back and forth. But another rule is that you never move an appointment to the next following day unless you took action on that, because you don't want to form a bad habit of procrastinating. And that's another form of procrastination, is saying, okay, well, I'm not going to get to this today, I'm going to get to it tomorrow, without actually touching it and simply slowing down and taking action on that particular task. Because the goal is, if it has to move, it has to move. But if it can't, then delete it, get it off your calendar. Because otherwise you're just going to be pushing shit out to the point where soon enough, your whole entire day is just filled of things that you should have done a week ago or 2 weeks ago. So don't adopt that bad habit. Don't get used to that bad habit. really start to practice the idea of, okay, this time slot is dedicated to this particular task or this reminder. I'm going to do everything that I can within this time slot because that deserved its time to handle that task and that objective. Next thing is that besides having your 48-hour window view within front of you, you have to use a color system. So this is like a system within a system. So not only are you using a calendar system to kind of mark and plan each and every action that you have throughout the day, but you also color code it. And what I'm talking about color code it is, if you think about, let's say, the color yellow, right? Yellow, it could mean to you slow down. To me, that's what it means, is slow down, right? But I also use it as a meaning of slow. Like, so this is something that's slow. Like this isn't fast moving. And so my yellow is designed for appointments that I already pitched, I already went through, and maybe they ghosted me, or maybe, you know, like this person's slow, they don't have a fax machine or email, right? They have no computer, so damn, this is gonna be a slow one. So this is something that's slow, and it means that it's not necessarily a priority, but it's important that I at least tap that particular file or tap that reminder, you know, throughout my day. Whereas if I put green to you might mean go, right? Well, green to me means money. So green is something that I can't revise, I can't forget about, I can't just procrastinate on. That is my action that moves the needle. That's green for me. And so now, as far as green goes, what I use green on are my pitch appointments, right? Are, you know, maybe an appointment that I have with a pre-qualified lead, something that's very, very important. That's what I personally would use for greens. Now, you could use whatever color system you have, but just understand the idea of the color system. So I'm not going to go in full detail because, you know, that would take forever. And then the next part is, you know, when you follow your particular time management system, you have to protect it, because every single, like, you know, like I said at the very beginning, one of the rules that you should follow is that before you leave for the day, and the reason why I have a 48-hour window is because my next day should be literally 30% accounted for. Right? Everything from, okay, I got an appointment here, I got an appointment there. And not only that, but as you're talking to people, sometimes you have to reschedule. And so you're looking at your other calendar, but ultimately by you having your managed time, you're going to sound more important. You're going to sound more exclusive. And unknowingly, the people who are engaging with you, they feel the importance, right? Like, okay, you can't meet with me until 2 and 3 tomorrow, or 5 and 6. That means you're busy. That means this person is helping a lot of people, or you're important somehow in some way. And why that's important is because when you seem exclusive, more kind of untouchable, people want you more. It's weird like that. But also when you're scheduling your time, you start to create what's called time blocks. And so there are a couple actions, and I'll leave you with this, that you absolutely need to make sure that you block a specific amount of time for. And these blocks could be 1 hour, preferably 2 hours, if not 3 hours, where they are solely focused on specific actions that move the needle. And the primary one is origination. So in other words, you have to have time blocks in your day where you do not get too busy to continuously feed your pipeline. So there has to be at least 4 hours, in my opinion, dedicated to each and every single day solely on origination. Whether you're taking inbound leads, or you're doing outbound calls, or you're doing follow-up calls, it has to be something that moves the needle. And you got to be strict with your time block. So in other words, if something that calls for your attention that has nothing to do with origination, it could be a fire being put out, it could be a low appraisal, it could be a borrower calling to ask questions who's already in the pipeline, you got to neglect them. That's right, you got to push them to voicemail. And that might be so contradictory of what you think is the right way of managing time, right? Like, no, I gotta answer these questions. No, you don't, boo. You gotta forward them over the voicemail. And if anything, send them over a text or an email and say, hey, I saw you calling. I'm in the middle of a meeting. I'll give you a call at 4 o'clock, or whatever time your time block is done. All right. And it's very important, because what happens is if you allow them to penetrate and infiltrate your call block, your focus becomes distracted and then put into a different direction that is not going to help you keep moving the needle. And the next thing you know, you fell behind. A second factor is that if another time block, for example, could be pitching. It could be solely selling, and that's part of your origination time block, right? So maybe you could have 2 hours of originating and then 2 hours blocked for closing. This is for pitches, for, solely focused on working up deals, structuring deals, pitching deals, etc. But if you try and mingle the two, and this is where I see a lot of loan officers go astray, is because they will do the origination call, which could last about 45 minutes to an hour, and then rush into the pitch. Like, okay, give me 30 minutes and I'll pitch. I often say sometimes in my content that you shouldn't do that, because number one, they're distracted. They may not necessarily be ready. The other decision maker isn't present. There's so many reasons, but another key reason is you are not ready, because what you're doing is you're rushing it in. So you can never really gauge if the call's gonna be 45 to an hour long, right? And you might be like, but D, I thought you said your time blocks is meant for origination and closing. Well, yeah, but you got to separate the two. So if this 2 hours for origination, it has nothing to do with working up deals, has nothing to do with pricing out deals, has nothing to do with structuring them, it has nothing to do with follow up or pitching, right? Your 2 hour time block, which predominantly should be in the early part of the day, is solely focused on building up for your closed time block. So you're taking prospects through this filtration process where you're originating and preparing it for the close. That's the cycle. But if you're going at it where you're trying to mingle the two, your efficiency is going to be off, because now you're in a rush. Now you're like, hey, I got 30 minutes. And then you ever feel like, you ever run behind on time? And I'm sure you do if you have poor time management skills, where you're like, all right, fuck it, let me just go ahead and do it real quick. But you oftentimes that you did a piss poor job because you rushed through it. Well, that's what happens with our pitch. Why would we sacrifice 45 minutes to an hour of our time just to give a half-ass pitch and demonstration, and we sacrifice all of that? We leave it up to chance, and the chances are you're not going to effectively close that person. So manage your time properly. I hope this video has helped. Please comment below with your favorite takeaway. Definitely share this with someone who also needs to learn about time management, and I hope that you really like this video. Hit that like button, hit that share, comment, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.